is Susan Leff. I'm the professor who's stepping in for Susan Rutberg, who will be back in the spring. And I am the acting director of clinical externships here at Golden Gate Law School. Before I get started, let me find out a little bit more about you. Who here is a first year? A lot of first years. Who here is a second year? Yeah. Who here is a third year? Okay, so here's what I want to very, very briefly talk, because I think there are people in this room who can give you even more information than I can. But I just want to give you a general overview about externships. So let's start back way long ago, before there were law schools. What there was experiential learning. And what's experiential learning? Well, new lawyers would go and work with practicing lawyers, and that's how they would learn the practice of law. And then we developed law schools, and we developed all these experiences where you take the Socratic method and you'd sit in a classroom like this and be lectured to and have to fill out tests. It's all come back around again. The profession has come back full circle. And why is that? Because we've determined that you can get more out of the experience of working than just simply working and going to law school in the Socratic method. Working hand in hand together will give you a better experience in law school and will prepare you more for the practice of law. So I want to start with, what is an externship? Let me ask you first years. Do you know what is an externship? Does anyone have any ideas? Yeah.
Basically, it's very similar to an internship, but you're working, well, it says on-site or off-campus.
Right.
Either way, it's for academic credit versus payment.
Right, here's the idea. You are a student who goes to work at a place. It could be here at Golden Gate Law School, or it could be someplace off-site. And the idea is that you're getting practical experience while not getting paid. And you're doing the kind of work that you would be doing in that field. Okay, so that's basically what an externship is. Some places they'll call you a law clerk, other places they'll call you an extern. But the value of an externship, at least here, is that we at the law school are working to oversee your experience. So let me give you an example. Somebody who wants to go work somewhere who doesn't do an externship doesn't maybe have the same checks and balances that we do. Let me give you an example. We've had situations, or I know of situations, let's put it that way, where a student was asked to go work at a law firm or a law organization and stuff envelopes. Now, does that develop your legal skills in any way? Not so much, right? Not so much as if you were actually doing something in the practice of law. So one of the benefits, I think, to having an externship program here at the law school is that we are there to help and supervise, and we can sometimes be the excuse for why certain things have to be that way. So for example, one of the things that we build into the externship experiences are check-ins with your supervisor to make sure that everything is going the way they want it to be going, and everything is going the way you want it to be going. Does that make sense? So the experience is that you're out in the field, you're practicing, and you're enveloped and developing your legal skills. You're working on improving your legal skills. You're increasing your substantive knowledge in an area of law. You're getting hands-on learning experiences, and you're also developing an understanding of the culture. So for example, you go to work in a public defender's office, you start to understand the culture of what it's like to be a public defender. Kind of being immersed in it, you learn about what it's like to be a public defender. You also, let's be honest, you also develop job contacts, yes? Which all of us could benefit from. I want to just give you an example. The best example that I can give you, I went to this law school. I graduated in 1995, and while I was here, I did externships. And I think one of the things that I can tell you about my experience was I didn't have anyone from my family. My mom's here, she can validate this. I didn't have anyone in my family who was a lawyer. And I didn't really know what it meant to be a lawyer. So between my first year and my second year, I did an externship during the summer. And I went to work in a public defender's office. I really didn't even know what I wanted to be or what kind of lawyer I wanted to be. But I went to work in a public defender's office, and I loved it. I just wanted to seat myself in it. And so from then on, I knew that I wanted to focus the rest of my law school career on developing the skills that I needed to be a public defender, which is what I did. So one of the things I think is really of a benefit to you is to have that experience. And I want to share with you one other thing that a lot of people, I don't think, maybe take into account. That let's say that you did an externship and you determined you didn't want to do it. I had that experience. Between my first year and my second year, I worked in a public defender's office. Between my second year and my third year summer, I worked at a state public defender's office where all we did was appellate work. And what I learned from that experience was that I didn't want to be an appellate lawyer. But the experience wasn't wasted because I learned a lot on the appellate side, knowing, oh, wait a minute, this is how they look back at the trial lawyers. This is what they do. So I learned that it wasn't what I wanted to do, although I've now valued it, and it made me turn my attention more towards being a better public defender. Does that make sense? So in my view, no experience is wasted. Even an experience that tells you, I'm glad I did that, I'm going to do something different. And I don't think people really think about that. People might think, oh, experience is wasted. I don't think any experience is wasted if you're involved in the law. So I wanted to share that with you. So what is it? It's experience. You're out in the field. You're either at the law school working in a clinic, or you're out on premises somewhere and you're working. Who is it? Well, it's whatever placement you decide to go to. We're going to have people here in the placements talk to you about it. But one thing I want to share with you that I think I can give you as an overview is that we are part of a larger umbrella organization about the Bay Area Consortium on Externships. And one of the things I think is really a benefit to you is that because we belong to this larger group with all the other law schools in the Bay Area, everything is kind of standardized. We're all using the same forms. So it's not like someone from Hastings is going in and doing something different than you are. It's not like someone from Bolt is having a different experience. We're all doing the same thing. And I think, again, in terms of when you go out in the real world, that's a nice thing to be able to say, is that we're doing exactly the same things as everybody else is doing. I think that consistency is really important, and it shows the value that everybody places on these law school experiences through externships. Now, where are they? We have people here who are going to talk about the on-site externship programs, and people who are going to talk about the off-campus ones. And when are they? I have a flyer here I'll put out, but this is going to talk to you about the deadlines that are involved. And I think Suzanne can give us a little bit more about how to do that and where to find the information online. And so again, I don't want to take up the time. I think that you're going to get more of a benefit talking from the people in each of the externship programs. But I just want to share with you that I think that the best thing you can do is to get these hands-on experiences, and as much as you can. So does anyone have any questions about that? Should we show you where to find the information?
One of the things that differentiates externships from other kinds of work experience is that these are all for credit. So for those of you who are 1Ls, you're not yet eligible to do one next semester, but you will be by summer. So it's great that you're planning ahead, and for the upper division students, you would be eligible to do this now and as early as next semester. And now is the time when students should be seeking placements if the externship class that they are interested in requires that. So we have a few externships where the placement is built in, and there are others where you are required to go out and find a place where you want to work. And on the information sheets that we have up here, it tells you which are which. So for those, thank you, Sandra. So for those externships where you are required to go out and find a placement, so that will include the Judicial Externship, the Civil Practice Externship, the Criminal Litigation Externship, Family Law, and several of these you would want to go out and find a place to work. We have some resources at LCS to help you with this, and we can provide all the same services in terms of helping you with your application materials and helping you prepare for interviews and all of the things we would for any other work experience or job opportunity. But I did want to show you on LCS Online, we've highlighted for you some of the placements where students have worked in the past, because that's often the first clue to help you figure out where you might want to work in the future, is to see employers who have hosted students in the past, and you might want to start there. You're not limited to those placements, but that certainly helps define the universe for you. So if you log into LCS Online, if you click up here where it says Browse Employers, and then over here you'll see there's, it might be a little hard to read, it says Practice Areas and Clinics. You simply click there and you'll see in this drop-down menu the first 12 or so listings are all for our externship program. So you can click on any of these. So I'm going to pick Judicial Externship since that's the program I'm involved with. And you hit search, and then you'll see you get a list of different organizations who have either told us they're interested in externs, or they've hosted externs in the past, or based on our knowledge of these placements would be eligible for credit. It does not tell you whether they are currently seeking an extern. Okay, this is just a list of available potential opportunities. And then from here, you can click on any of these organizations. We've given you their website. Often there's a description of that. In this case, of course, I picked one with that one, but they'll give you contact information. And so you can get a little bit more information here about how to address your application materials, or maybe some information about the externship opportunity that they offer. So I encourage you to use this as a resource. And as you scroll through, you see there's lots of information. And so we have them for all of the different externships. So civil practice is another one where we have a lot of information. And you will see there's a broad range of organizations that have hosted students or expressed interest in hosting students. And if you clicked on their listing, you would get all kinds of information about what they do and to whom you can direct your materials. And one other resource I wanted to point out on LCS Online that can be very helpful for you is to look at student evaluations of their prior externships. Through all of our externship courses, we require students to fill out an evaluation. If students are comfortable doing so, they'll do it here on LCS Online. And so I'm going to plant the seed now. After you do your externship, please fill this out. But this is a way for you to get a sense of what students have done. So if you click on student employment evaluations, you can click on the archives, and you can run a search of all of the evaluations. And you can tailor it. At this, I'm just going to show you, these are all of the evaluations, and there are 350 or so evaluations, and you can click on them, read more about the opportunity. If the student who posted it is willing to be contacted, you'll see the student's contact information here. You might want to follow up with that student and say, oh, I read your evaluation, I'm applying to do an internship or an externship at that same place. Can I talk to you about it a little bit? And you might find that that is a useful thing to do before you even prepare your cover letter, because you might incorporate elements in the cover letter that show you've talked to that prior student and might even mention their name if they're comfortable with it when you submit your application. It would also give you a sense of what that host organization values and is looking for in your application. So this is a great resource, and as I said, please remember to do these yourselves for any work experience, whether it's volunteer, paid, or externship, because this is very beneficial to other students. Any questions about, and just, you're not limited to these. If you are saying, gosh, there's nothing out here that speaks to what I want to do and the experience I want to get, come meet with the counselor at LCS and we can talk to you about how do you identify organizations that would give you the experience you're looking for. We can talk to you about how you might approach those organizations. We have information you can share with them about what their responsibilities may be as a host organization in the externship program. Because as Professor Lev said, we have a heightened expectation. If you are working for academic credit, these need to be substantive experiences, and so we can help let the employer know what we expect of them. I saw a hand up. Yes?
What's the difference between an externship and an internship?
So for this purpose, you're getting academic credit. So you actually enroll in a course, and the names of all the courses are around the room. You enroll in a course, you typically have a class component where you're meeting in a seminar situation, and you are working and earning your academic credit through the hours that you're working at that placement. An internship is more of a generic term, so that really speaks to the relationship with the employer in terms of the fact you're working in their office as a student for a limited duration. It could be paid, it could be unpaid, it could be for credit. We're using extern as a term of art to mean you're working as an intern, but for academic credit through this academic program. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can they put, and it won't be very brief, I don't want to take your time, but can they put this on their general resume?
Absolutely. Yes. So this is when we talk to you about your 3 to 5 work experiences that we expect you to get while you're here. This is how many students get them, particularly during the school year, because part of your credits in any given semester could be through this class, and that's how you would make room in your schedule to work however many hours a week you would be working. So yes, definitely put it on your resume. Yes?
For an out-of-state externship, is it feasible to get academic credit, or can I just take the externship class prior to taking?
I can speak to that. I am supervising 2 students right now this semester. One student is in Brussels working with Human Rights Without Frontiers, a lawyer organization in Brussels. And I have a student who's doing an externship at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. It can absolutely be done, and we do it through the externship program. It fits within our categories of externships.
Do I go through you or do I go through you?
You would go through, well, you could go through either one of us, actually both of us.
Well, both. So you would work with me and with LCS in terms of locating and acquiring, the mechanics of how do you find the placement, applying for, preparing for your interview, that sort of thing. But in terms of, is this an eligible placement? Could I get credit? And how would I handle the fact that I'm going to be away from the Bay Area? You would work with Professor Lev.
Right.
And I'd say you'd want to do that before you accept the position because you want to make sure it will in fact satisfy whatever requirements for a program.
So there are 2 components. There's a classroom component, and there's the off-site, or if you're in an in-house clinic, there's that component. The part where there's a seminar is the in-house part. And what we do in the seminars is, so I'll tell you, I teach the criminal litigation externship. So let me give you an example. You might be working at the Department of Justice or at the Attorney General's office. And JD might be working at the Public Defender's office, okay? And what would happen is you do your time at the placements, and then we'd all meet together for our seminar once a week. And in our seminar once a week, in my class, what I do is I have everyone, before we do anything in class, go around the room, state what place they are at, because I wouldn't expect you to remember where everyone else is. And I have all my students say something that was positive in their week and something that was challenging in their week. And also, you're writing a journal entry to your professor. And that component involves you having some insights and some thoughts about your experience, right? It's also a good place for you to share some concerns you might have. That's a good way for us as law professors to sort of say, hey, wait a minute, I want to make sure I check in with that student, something about what happened to them. I want to just follow up and make sure that everything is okay. So you've got 3 different components. You've got the part where you're working, you've got the seminar where we're all coming together, and in my class I might have a speaker come in to speak about, for example, in the criminal litigation externship, I've had people come in and speak about the intersection between immigration law and criminal litigation. Right? Because a lot of people who are involved in the criminal justice system also may have immigration issues. Or I might have someone come in from a youth law organization. Or I might have someone come in to talk about the prison system. So we have all these different components in the classroom, and you're filling out journal entries that are confidential directly to your professor, and you're doing your work in the placements. So it's those components that kind of get mixed up for my class. And maybe now would be a
So you understand, for students who are away, we have different ways to accommodate the fact that you're not in the classroom. So it could be joining remotely, or it could be taking a different semester, or they're depending on your situation. And so that's why I want you to check with Professor Leff about the particular accommodation we would need to make if you can't be in the classroom that particular semester while you're doing your placement.
So the student who is in Brussels and the student who's in Washington are sending me journal entries that I'm reading, and then sometime throughout the semester we'll have a couple phone conversations, or we'll Skype, or we'll do something to connect, just to make sure that we have that, because they're not here.
Are externships exclusively not paid?
Yes, that's an ABA standard requirement that a student cannot get paid for an experience for which they're earning academic credit.
So internships also you can't get paid and get credit?
Right, so if you're getting credit, it's an externship by definition, and you can't get paid for that same experience. Now, if you did an externship one semester and it was unpaid, and then 2 semesters later you go back to that organization and they suddenly found a pot of gold and can pay you, that's fine. But in the semester when you're earning the credit, you can't get paid for it.
Do you have other questions? Can we turn the floor over? I've already spoken about the criminal litigation externship. Do you want to talk about judicial?
Yeah, and do you want us to just introduce ourselves and station ourselves around the room? Is that the, so what we, the reason we see all these signs around is what we thought we would do is we have several representatives from the different externships. We will briefly introduce ourselves to you, and then we'll invite you to get up and come find us around the room, and we can chat with you about our particular course and what's involved and the kinds of placements, and answer your unique questions that relate to that particular externship. So I'm Suzanne Aronowitz, and I co-teach the Judicial Externship course. I co-teach it with Leo Arnetta, and so I'm happy to talk to any of you, and that's for anyone who is working for a court or for a judge or for an administrative law court. We've had students at the state and federal, trial and appellate and Supreme Court level. So there are lots of different opportunities there.
Ben Shaw, I'm taking the externship civil field placement.
I'm Liz Combs, 3L, and I've actually taken the family law and the civil field placement, but I'm also in the Judicial Externship right now.
I'm Professor Susan Leff, and I teach the criminal litigation externship program. And for the end of the semester, I'm the director of the externship program here.
I'm David Ammons. I co-teach the civil field placement clinic, and the civil field placement clinic is sort of the catch-all clinic for students who are based in a variety of different placements throughout the semester. So feel free to come up and talk, and Ben is one of our students. Go here for you.
I'm J.D. Leonard. I'm a 3L, and I'm here representing the Consumer Rights Clinic.
I am Melissa Smart. I am a 2012 graduate, and while I was in law school, I did the Judicial Externship clinic as well as the Civil Field Placement clinic twice.
I'm Kevin. I'm an LLM student. I'm involved with the Pro Bono Tax Clinic.
My name is Lauren Otto. I graduated in May of 2012, and in both semesters of my 3L year, I was at the Environmental Law and Justice Clinic.
I'm Cody Nesper. I last fall externed at the Environmental Law and Justice Clinic. I've also been the civil field placement.
I am Ellen Kahn. I direct the Environmental Law and Justice Clinic where these folks externed, and that's an on-site clinic along with the Women's Employment Rights Clinic. And today there is no representative from the Women's Employment Rights Clinic, so I can answer questions for both clinics, which are both on-site and staffed by professors.
And please don't forget, we have handouts here.